Few companies in the entertainment business have the ability to define and shape a creative genre of their own.
Oh, by the way, it's not a circus show, and it's not a music show, it's not a theater, it's not this, it's not that. And in a conversation like that, I would like to interrupt people by saying, this is Cirque du Soleil.
It expands the boundaries of imagination.
Cirque du Soleil is some kind of pushing the limit. It's trying to present surprises, okay, to allow the spectator to admire what another human being can do.
Without losing its essence, Cirque du Soleil became a recognized global brand and one of the largest theatrical producers in the world, offering shows to more than 155 million viewers worldwide. Let's spend a day at the international headquarters of Cirque du Soleil in Montreal, Canada, to get a behind-the-scenes glimpse at the individuals who made this unique global event possible.
Okay, welcome to Cirque du Soleil.
Back in the early 1980s, a troupe of performers from Quebec, Canada began offering a different type of show. Through performances that mixed circus arts without animals, combined with original music and outrageous costumes, Cirque du Soleil was born. The name, which means Circus of the Sun in English, was the brainchild of a stilt walker and fire eater named Guy Laliberte.
So we're here in the Saint-Michel neighborhood, which is an extremely sensitive neighborhood in North America. And he wanted, it was important for him to settle down here so that we could help out the community.
In the 1990s, under the guidance of the visionary Guy Laliberte, Cirque du Soleil produced resounding hits like the shows Saltimbanco.
So here we have what we call the Agora. This area, when we first built the head office, there weren't that many employees. We actually used this area for meetings with the whole company. Now, since we have about 1,500 employees at the IHQ, this is how we call the international headquarters, it's not possible to have our meetings here, but we still have meetings, and sometimes people will have lunch here.
First of all, if you go to the cafeteria of Cirque, you have the feeling that you're walking at United Nations. You don't have the feeling that you're anywhere else in the world, because there is 49 different nationalities represented here.
It's nice. It's so nice to be around so many people speaking different languages, but the main language in Cirque du Soleil is English. So for me, that's good, because that's my language. But it's so nice to be multicultural.
We have about 1,300 artists that are performing around the world at this moment.
People ask me why we think we're successful. I think we're successful because we are relevant wherever we go in the world. And why is that? It's because the artistic content we develop is developed in conjunction with at least 20 different nationalities represented on each show that we do develop. And I think it's a huge strength of Cirque du Soleil.
Let's take a tour of this circus city to meet some of the artists and creators who develop and perform in the Cirque du Soleil shows.
I started working at Cirque du Soleil in 1998 as technical director for a touring show called Saltimbanco, which doesn't exist anymore. But I spent 2 years on tour with that show. And lately, I've been working on CIRQUE as creation director, which is another arena touring show. But the main job is to surround the creation team, which I built with the vice president at creation at Cirque du Soleil, and with Guy Laliberte too, which sometimes is involved in choosing the member of the creation team for a new show. So we'll select the team, and then I will be directing that team of creators to build a brand new show.
What's important for me, the way I describe my job, is I have to put together the best conditions to allow our creators and artists to develop as many shows as possible.
Basically, what I'm doing is heading a group of 5 directors. First director, which is very important for CIRQUE, is the casting director, finding talent. The other directions are coaching, training, health and department, and then I have a specialized group that are in charge of designing new acrobatic equipment and new performance content.
So, in summary, most of my business is new market developments, and that's what I'm spending most of my time, is trying to find new markets, new partners, in order to have more contracts to do more shows around the world.
This vice presidency served 2 different clients. The first client is the creation, when we do a new show. Now, when we have done the show, my services is also for the existing show, which is currently 19 shows that I have to service, okay, and ensure, let's see, in terms of casting turnover, about the 10 to 14% every year, new people that I have to be able to assure that I'm providing these replacements, as well as providing new talent for new creation.
When I joined CIRQUE, we were touring in probably 70 different cities around the world. Today, we're touring in 450 cities around the world. So basically, we're about everywhere, touring around the world. And that's the business responsibility. The business responsibility is a marketing/brand responsibility.
Cirque du Soleil has been seen by more than 155 million viewers in over 50 countries. In 2015, Guy Laliberté sold 90% stake in Cirque du Soleil for close to $1.5 billion.
The Cirque has been sold last July, and right now I have the best of both worlds, because I still have the luxury of having Guy Laliberté as a creative, guide who's still around, but I have 2 amazing engines of development for CIRQUE. I have TPG, which is based in San Francisco, i.e. Silicon Valley. So they're opening me all the laboratories of the new technologies company in Silicon Valley. And I have Fosun, who is in China, that is opening me all the doors that someone can dream of seeing open in China. And so with those 2 new development engines, I can accelerate the growth of this company, and at the end of the day, provide our creators and artists with more creative challenges.
Despite this sale, Cirque du Soleil maintains the same spirit cultivated by Guy Laliberté.
First of all, Guy is still involved in the creative process. He still owns 10% of the company, and I'm pulling him whenever we need him to develop content of new show.
Guy did so many shows, he knows about the pulse of a show. So he's the best spectator. He comes, he sees a show, and he's gonna tell you, rhythm's good, rhythm's not good. Ian is a big fan of music.
Guy, for us, is really important of what he's doing with Jean-François Bouchard. They are here to just give us all the spirit of a show. They are here to make sure that the people will be touched and surprised by what we're doing. Guy always have the right words when he see a rehearsal for the first time before the audience will see it, and we always see him months before we present our show.
You'll notice everywhere in the head office that transparency is there. It was very important for Guy Laliberté to have natural light coming in, and also transparency.
With its characteristic creativity and the strength of this new capital investment, Cirque du Soleil continues to shine.
We're in a very growth mode right now. We have produced 3 new shows in the last 6 months. We have developed Avatar, which is an amazing creative venture with James Cameron. We have just opened Lucia, and now we're going on Broadway. So I think the normal pacing for Cirque du Soleil should be to produce normally about 2 new shows a year. And right now we're working, we have a lot of new projects in our pipeline, and I think we're going to be able to achieve this perfect level of creation and production development. We are a live entertainment organization. That's what we're good at. So when you look to the business model, you know, at the end of the day, we're a ticket seller. We have to attract people to come and see our shows and be willing to pay the right amount of money to see our shows. In the word show business, show comes first. If you have a great show, you have a great business. If you don't have a good show, you don't have a business. So that's where the focus should remain. It should remain on producing the best shows in the world.
How does Cirque du Soleil produce the best shows in the world? We'll get a backstage pass for a look inside its international headquarters. Right here, right now, in A Day in Cirque du Soleil. With years of experience and a growing infrastructure, how does Cirque du Soleil uphold its values and imaginative spirit?
If someone asked me, you know, what is the most important thing in what you do? To me, it's to provide amazing jobs to creators and artists. To me, this is a blessing.
So I think one of the strengths of Cirque du Soleil is that ability to invite creators from outside to contribute to the creative process and to manage the creative environment. I think really Cirque du Soleil has that very fine ability to manage an environment that promotes creation with people that sometimes don't know each other.
I've worked on many projects, other shows, like my first was Zumanity in Las Vegas, which is a permanent show. Actually, Lucia is my first touring show. And here I am with this new creation, Lucia.
Here, in its international headquarters, we'll get to know the backstage of the creative process of Cirque du Soleil. How is a new show created and developed?
Well, it's most of the time we have the same process, which is with the stage director, we always have an idea coming, or else from Guy La Liberté, or else coming from the Vice President Jean-François Bouchard, where we start saying, okay, let's talk about this or that, having a subject that we have in mind since a while, or we hire someone that already has an idea of what he would like to perform, and that idea plays to Cirque to make sure that we'll build a show around that idea that the stage director has.
A new creation will call for what we call a position of a director of creation, okay? And that director of creation is basically bridging the entire services of the company and the creator of the show. He serves as the bridge in between those two, because we invite creators from outside.
The first inspiration for a show is the script. So there's a story there. There's a storyline, you know where it starts, you know where it ends, and you have some kind of a puzzle. We'd like to have that kind of number here, and that kind of number there. So this is a number that is very, lots of action. Okay, so action means that kind of rhythm.
So from that idea, then we'll start building with, normally we're 3 or 4 people, which are the set designer, the stage director, myself, and sometimes the costume designer or the music composer, somebody else too with us, and we start building what we call the scenario of the show.
I think it's the same road for every creator. Like we all start with sketches, and after the sketch we do some. We go more for real stuff. So let's hear some arrangement. This guitar I play, this melody I play to you. Now we have musician. Like we have, it's played by 7 musicians, and we have the rhythm as well.
Depending of the show, depending of what you're doing, I have many different experiences. Shows like Totem, or what the other one I've done in Macau with Zaya. The storyline was there to start with, but it's a general storyline. Then you can always change and adapt and make up your mind on a different act because you just saw something else so good, then you can always adapt, but you have a general idea. If you talk about CIRQUE, for instance, CIRQUE was a very specific show where the storyline was the key word for our show. So we had to write down everything before we select any acrobatic act because the storyline was the first thing we decided to take care of and make sure that was the first goal that we had. So we wrote the story very, very clearly. And then we design the set and we design everything accordingly to that storyline.
Even with such a highly collective work process, the stage director leads the project.
His main job will be, of course, to direct the show, direct the artist to build the show. But his first job, too, right now is the one to write the story most of the time.
So at first, for me, it starts like that. It's more like very chaotic. I create melodies inspired by the script. I interact more with the director of the show. Everybody wants this to be beautiful and shiny and so, but the director knows the rhythm, his own rhythm. He wrote the show, so he knows the script. He knows where he wants to go.
Then we will join the rest of the team, which normally is the acrobatic performance designer that will help us, and with the acrobatic equipment designer, and then we start looking at all performances with casting.
Cirque du Soleil castings are ongoing and carried out by a team of 35 people.
This group travel around the world, go to various festivals, competition, various groups, and trying to identify the people that are very distinctive in terms of their talent, very high standard, a great ability to actually perform, and they identify these people and they bring that information back in Montreal. We go in Europe, then we have auditions in Europe, or we create audition in various places in the US or in South America, and then they go through that sort of personal audition, or sometimes it's group audition, okay, that we invite people and they come in and then they go through the process of auditioning for us.
I was competing as a gymnast from a very young age. I was representing my country for Great Britain. And at the age of 18, I think, we had a closed audition at my gym, and where people from this headquarters came and did a casting. And so we did an audition, and then 6 months later, after I'd finished competing, I got asked if I wanted to join.
Casting at Cirque du Soleil means, with my group, going in various places around the world in minimally 8 different type of disciplines. It could be, clown, dance, actor, singers, musicians, then obviously professional in the circus domain, and sport people, mainly from the gymnastic background, either be trampoline, rhythmic, men's and women's gymnastic, or acrobatic sports, acro sport.
So I have the title as Women's Pair European Champion in 2011. And 3rd in the world in 2012. At the end of 2012, I got contacted by CIRQUE and came here to start training.
And then we have a process for that with all sorts of activities, okay? They have to demonstrate their ability, but also we put them in an uncomfortable zone where they have to react, and then we see how they react and how they are able to adapt to various artistic requests.
So I came to the headquarters and did 3 months of training on like a general formation. And then I got offered a contract for over.
The first thing that we're casting is obviously specific ability and talent. We're looking also for someone that is open, that has a degree of flexibility, that has a certain type of personality, that can react, okay, to various situations, that has a certain charisma.
We look for somebody that can touch the audience and that has that creative sensitivity, the artistic sense.
We've got acrobatic coaches. These people are in charge of looking after all of the skills that are acrobatic in nature. Flying up in the air, rotating, landing, doing what the gymnast people are doing, or let's see, the circus people are doing, either be on trapeze as an example, and so on. So they're looking really at the skill component from an acrobatic perspective. But we also have artistic coaches, singing, dancing, interpreting characters, okay, playing music individually or collectively, voice. So all of these things are artistic in nature, and they're sort of a training, okay, before they actually are invited on a specific show to play a specific role.
When I came here for the general formation, I had acrobatics like in what I was training for, and then I had percussion lessons and character lessons, and to make you come outside of the box and become a character rather than just an athlete. You start to have to explore more and find your own character, which is good. It makes you open up.
So for that reason, we always have the two coaches that work in synergy so that the acrobatics is always perfect, but that we make sure that the audience will be touched when they look at them.
It's stimulated so many different ways. Sometimes they'll give you a starting point and then you have to work from there. Or you should, like, say if they want you to travel from one side of the room to the other, they'll be like, okay, do everything leading with your elbow. So it makes you think differently. Rather than like thinking about it too much, you have to let your brain just let it go and follow where your body goes. So a lot of creativity comes from thinking outside the box, which is nice.
We also have in this area 3 different studios. They're actually dance studios. We can take a peek. As I mentioned, the artistic side is extremely important here at Cirque du Soleil. So in order to develop that side, we do have dance lessons, percussion lessons.
We are always working on your character. There's never a time when you're your full maximum. You're constantly on stage, you're constantly exploring new things, and it keeps it interesting for you. All the time you're trying different things with your character, it keeps it fun.
Cirque du Soleil makes each artist bring out the best of him or herself. But what else is needed to create a great show? Next up on A Day in Cirque du Soleil. What type of care and creativity are required for each show? In shows where there are mixed disciplines, how does Cirque du Soleil maintain its own specificity?
Of course, being a circus company, acrobatic is the key word for us. So we'll be very, very picky with what we're doing with acrobats. We'll be very picky with what choreographer or people coming from different field, arts field will be requesting our artists to perform. We'll be very careful about this. We know, and something else which is very important for us that people doesn't know, is doing 10 shows a week needs specific rules, need specific ways of doing stuff. You cannot expect an artist to do 10 shows if he's doing tons of stuff in the show, for instance.
Our artists do train in the training studios. They're acrobatic apparatus. But in order to stay in shape, we have a gym, obviously. Because our artists come from, most of them come from the sports world or the circus world, the majority of them know what they need to do to stay fit.
So we'll be there to make sure that the load of work that we ask an artist to do, he will be able to sustain it 10 shows a week, and for years too. So that sometimes people coming from opera, people coming from dance, they're not aware of that. When they do 5 shows a week or 6 shows a week, it's a lot of shows for them.
We train a fair amount, especially when the show is starting again. We train maybe 3 times a week before the show. And at the moment, because I'm training for a backup act as CIRQUE, I'm also training after the show.
We're always here to prepare backup people for any acts. We're here to make sure that they'll be able to sustain the load of works that they will have.
Before the show and after the show, we have trainings or choreography sessions. So doing dance or acrobatics, it varies.
So right now we have some of our Lucia artists. They actually live right across the street in our residence right now. So before they will actually go on to the big top today, to train for their actual routines, they come here to work out.
So it's quite intense, but you need it to keep in shape, and everyone does their own training, because I also like to condition my body as well as the trainings I get given for the specific acts I do. So every artist is different, everyone needs different. It all depends on your own body.
So welcome to Studio AB. This is our biggest training studio. This is usually used for scenic prototyping because our shows all begin in the Old Port. All of our big top shows all begin in the Old Port. Usually the premiere is in April. And here in Montreal, it gets very, very, very cold during the winter, so it wouldn't be possible to put up the big top in the middle of winter. When we're not in a creation process, like now, our artists just transferred into the big top in the Old Port. We do use this space for training for our artists. Right now, we have an artist that's training here. She's presently on OVO, and she will be with us for a few weeks.
Training isn't the only constant in Cirque du Soleil.
And for me, that's what it is. It's collaboration, it's cooperation. That's the way to build a show.
It's always there. It's not like I do the music, take the music and bye. It's not that. Because everything that's happening on stage as well, music inspires what's on stage, but the stage inspires me as well. So because I create my own world before on the script, when I see it for real, I see the choreography, I see everything, I say, oh my goodness, it works very well, or it doesn't work at all. But it's not that. Normally it's working, but sometimes it's like, oh, it could work better if we do this, and then we have the break there, because it's so, it's a lot of inspiration when you go under the big top and you see things happening for real. So you keep some places sometimes to change some material in there.
Besides music, costume design is also central to the visual look of a show.
So here we also have a rack of clothing, not clothing, Cirque du Soleil costumes. So this can help our artists get into character. It's a very colorful one. Every single costume is custom made for every one of our artists. So one of the first things that our artists will do when they sign a contract with Cirque du Soleil is have their whole body measured. We'll also take a mold of their head in order to make sure that if ever we need to fix a hat or make a new mask, that we can actually have it custom made and that we don't have to fly the artist back to Montreal to do it every time. So here we have different artisans that work on our props. I have here an example of how we use these molds. As you can tell, we have the artist here and we'll actually work directly off of the mold of the artist. We also have here, for example, on Ka, we have some half masks. As you can tell here, we have an artisan that's working on the mask. Once again, she's working directly off of the head of the artist. So it's an existing artist that's performing in Las Vegas. And every time and again, depending on what the artists do on stage, we need to replace their costumes, their hats, their shoes, depending. So there's a lot of logistics that happens also between the touring shows and the head office. The wardrobe on the touring shows need to let us know, oh, well, in a couple weeks, we're going to need a new costume for this particular artist. Because we need the time to be able to make it and ship it back onto the tour, whether it's in Las Vegas or anywhere around the world. You'll see here, for example, we have the hats of CIRQUE, one of our CIRQUE artists. So here we have clasps of any type that you're looking for in every color, in plastic and metal, whatever you need. We also have our rolls of fabric that we need to make our shows, which are back here. I'll show you. So here's pretty much any type of piece of material that we need in order to make our costumes. Here we have the textile design department. We dye 80% of our textile in-house. Because our shows last for so many years, we need to make sure that the availability of both the materials and the colors will always be there. That's where our artisans will actually paint on the motif or the design directly onto the piece of material, as we have one here. So as you can tell, she's actually painting on the pattern. We also have another way of changing our textile with metallic application. So we actually have an artisan right now that's getting ready to do that. So now we already have the glue that has been applied on the textile with a specific pattern. We just add the foil on top. Another technique that we use to design our fabric is silk screening. So as you can tell, it's beautiful teamwork that's being done. So basically, silk screening is, the concept is that for every color, we need a different screen, and for every pattern also. So for something that's pretty complex, if you have 7 different patterns with 3 different colors, well, it's one screen per pattern per color. So it's a lot of work. As you can tell right now, they're actually working on CIRQUE. It's the avatars. I have 2 other workshops like this upstairs. So here, we saw downstairs we were working on the avatar costumes. These are not it. These are prototypes. We do a lot of prototyping during our creation process. But you see a little bit the evolution that happened. We saw it downstairs, and this was one of the first trials. And so we go through, the creation process is about 2 years, so we go through a lot of back and forth.
So you know when you create that music, you know the proper rhythm to start and help them. And then you make, everybody listens to the music, they exchange, and at a certain point, everybody agrees, oh yeah, this is the right music for the number. We love it. We start to work on the number with this music. So then they go and they work for a while. And after that, we work all together to correct, like, okay, this is not long enough. We're gonna have a pause here. So this is more technical aspect of the music. So after a certain period of time, for me, the last part of the creation process is more to preserve the love, the heart, and everything that was created in the music. Of course, you have some surprises. Every shows are different. I'm a composer, I'm not a performer, you know? But, you know, when I create the music, I create the melody, and my kids come in the studio. And if they stay with me, it means that I'm in the right way. If they leave and they say, well, I'm hungry, and they leave, they're not satisfied in the work I'm doing. So that's why I need to help with some cool grooves. So and they start dancing. So I mean, okay, I'm in the right space. They're the best for me, like my kids. And they're like amazing. Me, work the heart all the time. The melody is the heart. So if you have a good melody, you want to make sure that you preserve this melody from when it's you have an agreement and everybody loves the music, the melody. You can rework some arrangement. You can rework some part of the structure, but not too much, because it's really easy to destroy a good melody if you are technically okay. It's like a position. A melody is all about love and chaos, and all of a sudden you don't know why, but it's happening and it's working. Everybody loves it.
OVO is a show all about insects. It's the day in the life of, well, 2 days in the life of an insect, and ovo meaning egg in Portuguese. And I'm the black spider, which is the darker, there's 3 spiders, so I'm the darker side of the show. And I do a bit of aerial, character, dance, a bit of everything. On the wall, acrobatics, you name it, I'm there. When I first joined, I was a flea. So I was doing acro sport, which is my background. So I did acro sport, and then because I was replacing someone, so then I started to work on something different because I wanted to keep pushing my boundaries and keep it interesting for myself. So I started to learn the black spider as a backup. And then My contract came to an end because the girl came back as a flea, and then I came a black spider, and that's how it came about. I'm training to do the mosquito. It's a female mosquito, which is going to be the backup act on CIRQUE. So there's currently someone doing it at the moment as backup, but I'm going to become it, which will be nice to have a solo act as well. It's nice because I'm enlarging my repertoire in CIRQUE. It's such a fun and lively show. It's full of colour and it's such a family show as well. It's so happy and bubbly and it's beautiful music, bright colours. It's great.
With the ultimate goal to create shows that make a difference, what are the members of the circus planning for the coming years? What is the hardest part of being so successful? And what is the true magic of Cirque du Soleil? We'll find out when we return on A Day in Cirque du Soleil. After so many years of success, what are the challenges that Cirque du Soleil faces when it embarks on a new project? How does it prepare for new adventures?
The fact that it's not linear and the fact that it's always different. So a new project is a new adventure. And the existing project is presenting new challenges almost every day.
Forever, I think the challenge will be to remain relevant. And to remain relevant, it means that you have to evolve. It means that the content of our shows will have to evolve all the time.
I mean, if you're not able to sustain change here at Cirque, you don't work for Cirque very long because we keep changing minds, we keep changing about the show, we keep changing ideas all the time because we believe that's the way we have to do it. And you have to stay open.
In the early days, there was no technology in our show. So today we have drone in our Broadway show. We have hologram in our Michael Jackson 1 show.
Of course, I have to keep my eyes open, but my ears open and be open to any kind of change because that's what we like to do here.
So I think we're always pushing the edge of technologies, and I think more and more you will see a strong presence of new technologies because that's what young people expect today.
But we're trying always to go further using the new technology, but it's not only all about technology, it's about touching people too.
And that's our challenge, to always come to them with new surprises. And surprises come from human performance, but it's also come from new technologies. And more right now we're trying to bring a new blend between new technology and human performance.
As I talk about emotion, I mean, it's always the same. I mean, you always have to work on something that you know will be touching people. What's touching people today and what will be touching people in the next 10 years, I don't know. I mean, we're here always to try to find what's good, but at the same time, you're not doing stuff, you're not doing a new show knowing what will be nice for people. You're doing a new show because you believe in it.
After earning such a well-deserved reputation, what are the everyday challenges facing Cirque du Soleil?
I think it is as hard today as it was when Cirque du Soleil did its first show, because nobody wants to be famously known for having produced the first bad show of Cirque du Soleil. So the pressure is there all the time.
The harder part in my position is to give enough direction to people that are strong. They have strong personalities. They are working in various different fields that if they are not working in harmony, okay, it won't service the artist. I have to also not find difficult, but I have to find ways to give enough direction, enough structure, and at the same time, enough freedom, autonomy, and flexibility, and balance both.
If you would be the leader of a traditional company, you just say to people, we're turning right, and people turn right. At Cirque, if I would say that, I think people will throw me out of the building. Because here, and I find it very tough, but at the same time very rewarding, is you have to convince people. So you don't command, you convince.
So the way we evolve is to get new people, newcomers in the company, to be open all the time. So is there a new way? I mean, Cirque has been like this since day one. They're always open to new ideas, to new propositions. I mean, we reinvent ourselves every day.
The other thing that I really, really enjoy is I work with very, very strong people. As much as, let's see, from an artist perspective, we're looking for the best possible talent in the world, Cirque du Soleil also allows me to work from a professional standpoint with really great people that have high standards and that are passionate about their job.
So when you work with some people, and I've been lucky enough to work with some directors and some designers, which are so interesting, and we always try to put the show in front of us, not your personal dream.
I don't know, for me, I've always wanted to join Cirque du Soleil since I saw their first performance when I was maybe 8 years old. I said to my parents, that's what I want to do. So now to be able to say I'm living my dream is quite something, and performing, getting paid to do what I love is such an amazing opportunity.
What are Cirque du Soleil's future plans? How do the creators and artists imagine the next 3 years?
This idea of trying to push the boundary of creativity all the time is like every time you do a new show, you want to make sure that it will be so different than the last one. And that preoccupation and the pressure that we're putting on ourselves, I think it's the best ingredient of success for the company.
In the next 3 to 5 years, I'd like to carry on touring because I'm still young. So whilst I can, I want to see the world and enjoy what I do before settling down, because I don't have my own family or anything yet. So it seems silly not to travel whilst I can. And I'd love to travel through Europe and perform in my home country. And then I would like to maybe settle down in Vegas and end up in a show there, as long as my body allows me.
We spent a lot of time in the last few years developing Las Vegas, and we're a dominant player in Vegas. Right now, my priority is definitely China, New York City, and London, because those are 3 amazing growing markets in the live entertainment business, and I think we are underdeveloped.
And finally, after seeing all the magic of Cirque du Soleil, what is its secret?
It's not a secret. It's just be open. Listen to the other ones. Make sure that you're not stubborn, that you can listen and adapt and change when it needs it.
I think the magic of Cirque du Soleil stands on its original roots. I mean, if you go fundamentally circus, travel around the world, they meet people. They come with something that is strange. People look at that, okay, and they try actually to kind of surprise each other. And then they create that moment of discovery of, oh, I didn't know you could do that. Well, I will show you what I can do. So there is that moment of discovery and exchange, that moment of surprise. And I guess that moment of celebration of the fact that, when you look at human, it's incredible what they could do. They could do from a single person or a group of person. And that if you allow yourself to admire that and to celebrate that, then you come up with inspiration and joy.
Of course, our dream is to create magic every day. So that's what when a team is working on a show, and not only the team, but I mean the whole Cirque company, I mean, that's what we're trying to achieve, is to make sure we bring magic in the life of people by doing the shows we're doing. And that's always a motivation we have. And as you probably know, the keywords we have here is provoke, evoke, and invoke. And I probably haven't said it in the right order, but I mean, that's the words which are driving us all the time. And that's what we're trying to achieve, is surprise people, but touch them. It's not only be surprised. Surprise is one thing, but be touched by something is something else. And that's what we're trying to do with every show we're building here at CIRQUE.
We thank all of the members of Cirque du Soleil and say goodbye to the international headquarters of this unforgettable place. And as we bid farewell, let's ask Cirque du Soleil President and CEO Daniel Lamar what their definition of success is.
That's an interesting question because, 2 amazing teachers from Harvard Business School, wrote that book blue ocean, and then explain to the world why we were so successful. My funny part in life is when I see someone that I've seen a Cirque du Soleil show, try to describe to someone that had never seen a Cirque du Soleil show what they saw. And it's very tough because they stumble, because they start by saying, oh, by the way, it's not a circus show, and it's not a music show, it's not a theater, it's not this, it's not that. And in a conversation like that, I would like to interrupt people by saying, this is Cirque du Soleil. That's what we have developed. We have developed a new category of show. And that's why we are so unique in terms of artistic content.
Spectacular and unique performances, artists and creators pushing the boundaries of imagination. This is the exciting world of dreams and fantasies that defines the global brand of high-quality shows that is Cirque du Soleil.